What's up, Raider Nation? Welcome to TRU RAIDER Podcast. I'm your host, TRU RAIDER. Now, if you have not already, please hit that sub, hit that like, hit that share. Please get this out to as many people as you can. What I want to talk about today is Matthew Stafford and Will Howard, right? And this comes based on the interviews that we just witnessed with John Spytek and Pete Carroll at the NFL Scouting Combine, right? At this combine, in these interviews, of course, they're not going to say this is who we're targeting and this is who we want. But Spytek kept mentioning Will Howard. He kept saying Cam Ward, Will Howard, Cam Ward, Will Howard. And I found that to be very interesting, and there was two different times, once for Spytek and once for Pete Carroll, that they were asked about, how they felt about Matthew Stafford. And they were quick to say, we're not trying to get in trouble. This is somebody who's on a roster right now, and so we're not going to talk about other teams' players. And, they did the proper thing there, right? But it really has me thinking, right? Yesterday I put out a video talking about that I believe, if we're looking to draft a rookie quarterback, that our best option right now is to draft Shedeur Sanders and have Aaron Rodgers as the bridge. If you have not seen that video, go and watch that video. It's the last video I posted because I'm not going to talk about it right now. But if we look at the possibilities of a Matthew Stafford and a Will Howard, things get kind of interesting, right? Things get very interesting there because Will Howard, if we were to draft Will Howard, it puts us in a position where Chip Kelly was his offensive coordinator, at Ohio State, and Will Howard would be able to help install this offense. There's a lot of good things to that. Also, Will Howard just did win a national championship. So there's a lot of different things that we're looking at when it comes to this. And Will Howard is one of those guys. It's going to be, round 2, round 3 kind of prospect. I'm thinking more like round 2, but I'm not exactly sure on that. There's a lot of different conversation happening about it. And he's a guy that would not be ready to start day one, for sure. He's somebody who you would want to sit for, probably a season, 2 seasons, maybe even 3 seasons. And that gets very, very interesting because if we were to go ahead and trade for Matthew Stafford and then draft Will Howard, that puts us in a position where Will Howard gets to learn behind Matthew Stafford. And I think that would be an amazing situation for this kid. But there's a couple of things I don't like about that trade. One of the things I don't like about Matthew Stafford is, for one, he's going to cost like $50 million a year. He's 37 years old, and yes, he's still a top 10 quarterback. He still has a whole lot of football left in him, so I could get okay with paying Matthew Stafford what's essentially going to probably come out to about $50 million a year. I could understand that cap hit, because he puts us in a position where we're an instant contender, especially in a division with Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid. We got Justin Herbert, Jim Harbaugh, Bo Nix, Sean Payton, and then we would have Matthew Stafford and Pete Carroll. I like how that sounds. But another piece on top of paying him is that we would have to give up draft capital to go and get him. Now, one of the things that kind of gets me about this is that it's going to take a pretty high draft pick. Probably a second rounder is what it's really coming down to. There's no way that they're going to demand the number 6 overall pick to get a Matthew Stafford. But man, I don't know. Giving up a second rounder for him, I don't know how I feel about that. Also, if we were to do that, it puts us in a position where drafting Will Howard all of a sudden becomes another chore because he's probably going to go in the second round, and we don't want to miss him. If they really believe he's projected to go in the third, then we have 2 third-round picks, and we could go that route. Also, because we have 2 third-round picks, we could package some things together and possibly move up into the second round after trading away our second-round draft pick to be able to go and get a Will Howard. And I wouldn't really be upset with that. It puts us in a position where we have our number 6 overall pick, and we could go ahead and pick up an offensive tackle. We could pick up a Will Johnson, Abdul Carter, a Graham. There's plenty of players, Ashton Genty, that are really, really good players that are going to go that early. Another option that we would have is moving back from 6, and that's not really a guaranteed because once the quarterbacks are gone, people moving up, it doesn't cost as much, and then also people are a little bit more hesitant. There could be a team that's really in on an Ashton Genty and wants to jump up to number 6 to go and get him, and I'd be all about that. Go ahead and trade back, pick up some extra draft capital. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Will Johnson. There's several of these players that if we move back just a little bit, it puts us in a really good drafting spot. But also, if we pick at number 6, having that number 6 pick to go ahead and go get one of these top players, maybe even a wide receiver, right? And then being able to pick up a Matthew Stafford and then being able to pick up a Will Howard behind him, I think that there's actually a pretty high possibility that this is the route that the Raiders could go. It's not my number one choice, but when they were talking about win now, the quarterback that puts us in the best position to win right now would be Matthew Stafford. Absolutely would. You put Matthew Stafford on this offense with a Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, he's got weapons, especially if we draft a wide receiver in the first round or, pull in a free agent. It really puts us in a pretty good position. I like the idea of giving him a running game because, let's face it, our running game is horrible. So if we have something like an Ashton Genty or even the running backs from Ohio State, Judkins, Henderson, there's several, Hampton, there's good running backs all up and down this draft. So I really like the sound of it, I watched enough content over the, last night and today talking about Matthew Stafford, and it really makes me feel pretty confident that that would be one of the best ways for us to be a contender instantly. So you guys let me know what you think in the comments. Does this make us an instant contender? I know he's 37. He's a little bit older. You got to remember that there's quarterbacks that are, that have gone and won Super Bowls at an older age than him. And I kind of like this. I like this, and I'm going to stick to what I said. I'm not going to backpedal. I still believe that drafting Shedeur Sanders and getting Aaron Rodgers as our bridge is probably our best bet for getting if we're looking to get a rookie quarterback in the mix right away. But, after hearing John Spytek talk, he kept mentioning Will Howard and the connection with Chip Kelly and Will Howard. It really just kind of puts it to where if we picked up a Matthew Stafford, I could see them drafting Will Howard. So I think a lot of it is going to depend on what's going to happen during free agency, right? Because there's going to be a quarterback carousel. Right now, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are really highly touted that are available. Matthew Stafford being that it's looking like they're going to end up trading him. He doesn't have any more guaranteed money. He wants a renewal on his contract. It looks like the Rams don't really want to do that. So if they can pick up a good amount of draft capital for him, they're probably going to go ahead and be willing to move on from him. And then you got Russell Wilson, you got Sam Darnold, Justin Fields, Kirk Cousins. There's a lot of different moving parts to this whole situation before we even get to the draft. And so I'm really interested to see what plays out with these quarterbacks and where they end up landing, and then how that is going to totally affect the draft. Because if we're able to secure a name like a Matthew Stafford, I don't think that we're going to pick up a quarterback at number 6 or be looking to trade up, right? If we miss on all veteran quarterbacks, there's a pretty good possibility that we're going to be looking to either trade up or draft a quarterback early in the first round. So we're going to see, man. I'm getting excited. Combine's coming up. We got some more things to cover. I've never covered the Combine. This is my channel's only been open for a year, and I didn't really do too much during the Combine last year. I just talked about a little bit of free agents. So we're going to see what this whole thing looks like. I'm starting to get excited. There's starting to be more things to talk about. I'll be live with you guys soon. Like always, I love you, nation. I'll catch you on the next one.